Back again with another Bond review, and today we're going to talk about Skyfall, a really good Bond film. And to get right into the story, Bond's latest assignment goes terribly wrong, and it leads to a turn of events where undercover agents are being exposed, and MI6 is under attack, and it forces Judi Dench's character, to relocate. And meanwhile, her character's getting these cryptic messages from our villain, who you would see later. So MI6, being exposed from the inside out, she turns to Bond to figure out, who's responsible. And the trail leads to our main villain, this character Silva, played by Javier Bardem. And you learn that, Silva is from M's past, and he wants to settle a score. So it's up to Bond to, stop Silva and to stop his plans. And that's kind of the plot here. But yeah, Skyfall, like I said, it's a really good Bond movie, directed by Sam Mendes. Now, before this, Sam Mendes directed American Beauty, which I like, but, it's a little weird now watching that film with the Kevin Spacey stuff and what happened there. But it's still a good movie, well directed. Not one that I rewatch, but still, good movie. He also directed Road to Perdition, which is a really good movie with Tom Hanks. After this, he would direct Spectre, which I still like. This is a better film, but I still like the film, and I'll talk more about that. He also directed 1917, which, got a lot of big notices. Highly praised film, which I have, and I still want to check out. So Sam Mendes, brought, some great direction here to the film. It's kind of going back to, Casino Royale, where it's more of a slow build. Like I said before, Casino Royale, it's more, story driven. Quantum of Solace is more action driven, and with this film here, it's kind of going back to Casino Royale. But in here, Bond is after this guy that is from M's past, and wants to settle a score. And like I said, Sam Mendes did a great job directing. Now, get into the cast, again, Daniel Craig is a great Bond. And like I said, he's a different Bond. It's hard to say for me to compare him to, Sean Connery or Roger Moore. Again, he's more along the lines of Dalton. That Daniel Craig's Bond is more darker, gritty, hard edge, but still has a little bit of charm. And like I said, Daniel Craig does a good job here. Judi Dench is M. For me, she brought that character to life, and she was M from the first Pierce Brosnan Bond film, GoldenEye. And she does a good job here. You have our villain Silva, played by Javier Bardem. And I hope I got the name right, but this guy, he was in No Country for Old Men, and he would go on to be some other stuff, but kind of known for playing villain types, around this time. And I liked his villain. He was you get vibes of a classic Bond villain here with this character Silva. He had a very unique look, very interesting persona, if you will. Like the way they developed this character in the first half of the film. It's kind of, again, he's sending these cryptic messages. So there's a build-up of the unveil of our villain here, and you would see which he would come into play in the second act of the second act of the film. So I liked how there's sort of a build-up of our villain, that there's a little bit of mystery there. And then when you see our villain, he has Bond on his island, And I like some of the scenes where it's a kind of, it just shows how much, this villain is intimidating. Where this girl, she has a glass on her head. Like, if you look up the clip on YouTube, you can find it. But the scene where, Bond has to shoot the shot glass off the girl's head, and Silva kills her. And like I said, you can find that clip on YouTube. Because, one thing they touch on in this film is that, Bond, he's lost it. That he's lost his touch, and he has to get sort of his edge back. And I like that aspect of the film where, Daniel Craig is, at times, getting back into shape, or, trying to work on his aim. So, they feel that, Bond has lost his edge, and he has to get his edge back. So you have those moments throughout the movie. Now, like I said, I like that aspect of, that character and what they did with that. But like I said, Silva was a great villain here. And like I said, he definitely gave you vibes of a, classic Bond villain. And, great acting from Javier Bardem. And he's a great actor, and he played a great villain. And he definitely had a lot of shining moments here. And you can say he's pretty much, to me, he pretty much stole the show. I mean, like I said, Daniel Craig was great, but it was really this villain that really got you hooked in. And I always remember the scene where, he's in the chamber at MI6, and he's talking to M, and I thought it was a really good scene. Now, the scene where he pulls out his dentures, and you can tell there's some really, shoddy CGI in that moment, but so I think they could have been touched on better effects-wise. I think you could have done that with practical, where he pulls out his false teeth, because, he's like, do you want to see what happens when you drink cyanide or whatever chemical he, drank, but, he pulled out his false teeth, and like I said, there's some really, there's some CGI there I think could have been touched on better, or you could have done that with practical makeup, practical effects. But again, I know I'm spending a lot of time talking about this villain, but he was a really good villain. You have the character of Eve, played by Naomie Harris. You have the character of Q here. For here, he's played by this actor, Ben Whishaw. Here he's a much younger Q, and he would come back for Spectre. And I thought he was a decent actor. I thought he was decent in the film. And again, he's a younger Q, and he's more tech savvy. I mean, of course, if you were to ask me, I much prefer, Desmond Llewellyn, and, rest in peace, sir. But I thought this guy here, again, I thought he was decent. You also have the character of Tanner back, played by Rory Kinnear. Albert Finney has a small part in the film. He would appear later on. And so, yeah, I mean, the cast is really good. Ray Fiennes as this character, Mallory. He was good in the film. So, again, the cast is really good. And a lot of great moments in the film. I mean, and you do get some action, of course. But, like I said, it's kind of going back to more of a slow build of, with the plot and the story, finding more about our villain, Bond tracking the villain here. So, I mean, the film is, I didn't even mention the runtime, but it's 2 hours and 23 minutes. So, one thing I can say that in regards to the runtime, I think it could have been trimmed back, 20 minutes or whatnot, because you do have your moments in the film where it's, I mean, it doesn't hurt the film, but again, there's moments where it kind of it slows down and then it picks back up. It'll pick back up and then it'll slow down again. So, I mean, being a 2 hour and 23-minute film, like I said, you'll have those kind of, peaks and valleys where, it'll pick up and it'll slow down, pick up, slow down. And I think it could have been, trimmed back, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. But that's just my thought on that. But again, going back to, really good moments in the film. And again, I like some of the stuff where, Bond is tracking, and like the scene where the character Silva breaks out of MI6 and, Bond is tracking that character, and he's going after M, where M is in this hearing. And I like some of that stuff. And I would say for here, it's more, let's say, thrills. You get some good beats of action throughout the movie, and see, I'm already stuttering. I'm losing my train of thought here. But when you get to the third act of the film, it's a great third act, and I'll talk about that. But like I said, there's a lot of, suspense here in this film. But there are some really good moments where, again, he's tracking the Silva character. It comes to a point, a tunnel, where he finds Silva, and Silva's climbing up the ladder, and this train just, comes right into the tunnel. That's a really good shot. It's a well shot action scene, and like I said, you get a few of those in the film, a few of those moments of action. But when you get to the third act of the film, where Bond is at this house, and that's where you see Albert Finney's character, and M, she's there at this house, and Bond has to hold down the house before the villains start to come in. So yeah, the third act is really fun, really good, where the character Silva and some of his men attack the house, and Bond has to fight off the villains, and a lot of great gunplay. Even M gets involved and picks up a gun. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. Judi Dench kicking ass. And you got Albert Finney, rest in peace, Albert Finney. So you got, the three of them fighting off against our villains here, and the third act. And then, long story short, spoiler alert, M dies, and Ray Fiennes takes over the M character. So, and the way that the character of M dies, it was there. I mean, I get it. I get why they wanted to have somebody else, fill in that character of M. But I don't know, like, okay, you kill off Judi Dench's character, but you don't have any kind of funeral. That kind of took me by surprise a little bit. I mean, I get it's MI6, so they don't want to, maybe they didn't want to have a funeral, or they wanted to keep that, kind of quiet. But again, at the same time, it's such a, memorable character. And, like I said, Judi Dench brought that character to life, and it's like, okay, if you kill her off, why don't you have a funeral scene or some kind of, closure for the M character? But that's just me. But, like I said, I mean, I enjoyed the third act. I liked the, final, maybe, now the way the Silva character gets it, our villain, I think that could have been done, like, basically Bond just throws a knife in the guy's back and he dies. I think that, after all the excitement and, what transpired in the third act, I think, his comeuppance could have been a little bit better, or a little bit more to it. But again, that's just me. But still, And like I said, I really enjoyed the third act. And, overall, I mean, I could really go in depth on this film, but, and I'm sorry if I, stammered at some points, but, yeah, Skyfall is a really good Bond film. And like I said, this is, getting to more, with this film, it's back to more serious affairs and, slower build. And yes, I would say, for me, the one issue is the runtime. I think that it could have been trimmed back, 15, 20 minutes. But other than that, I mean, it really kept me involved throughout the movie. Kept me invested in what was going to happen next. And the build-up of our villain here. And the sort of mystery of our villain in the first half of the film. And then when you see our villain, this character Silva, again, he has a presence to what Javier Bardem did to this character. Again, he had a presence, and definitely reminded you of a classic Bond villain. And like I said, really, when the action does happen, and when the action does take place throughout the film, it's well shot and really satisfying third act. Even though, like I said, I have a couple of nitpicks with, the villain's comeuppance. I think that, maybe there was a funeral scene and they didn't put it in the film, or, was it something that was deleted? But I think they could have done more for Judi Dench's character. Like, again, if you're going to kill her off, why not have a funeral? But then again, I understand MI6 is a, kind of secretive operation. So, let's move on to the next M. And again, I get it, but maybe there could have been more for that in that area of the film. But anyway, yeah, Skyfall, really good Bond film. And like I said, I'm sorry if I kind of stammer here and there, but we're getting towards the end of, these Bond reviews here. So maybe part of me is a little bit, excited. Even though it's been fun, don't get me wrong, it's been fun, going through the Bond films, and, a lot of them have been really good here. I've enjoyed a lot of them. But I will be honest, I'm getting a little bit of Bonded out. So, but still, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my review of Spectre coming up next, and we'll see you later.